Welcome, everybody, to BWO Daily, your source for news from the world of sports, entertainment, and professional wrestling from your boys at Busted Wide Open. My name is Nick Howell.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. And yes, today, Nick, we've got to lead off with a story about a tragic topic, and that is, of course, the recent death of Hana Kimura in Japan, who passed away in part from cyberbullying and the effects of that. And it appears now that Japan is actually going to be taking action as a result of her passing. Their Minister of Internal Affairs and Communication, Sanai Takaichi, said that they were going to speed up government discussions around cyberbullying legislation. Particularly, they wanted to see if they could actually pass legislation that would allow users of internet forums, social media, etc., to be identified if they used terms that were considered slanderous or defamatory. So in other words, you wouldn't be able to hide behind the anonymity of being online. You would actually be responsible for the things that you say online if those things passed a certain point of acceptability, if they were harmful, etc. So they're starting to do that now. They're thinking of starting a government panel on that. The chief cabinet secretary, Yoshihide Suga, also said that it was important to improve literacy on the internet so that users wouldn't use comments like this to harm others. So perhaps programs to try and get people to be nicer online. I don't know how effective that will be, but at least they're looking at it. And even the former prime minister said that they wanted to punish people for cowardly online actions. So Japan not lying down when it comes to cyberbullying and taking the death of Hana Kimura very seriously.
Very good news. So, I'm concerned about privacy and the fact that you can already subpoena one of these companies and get all of the aforementioned information anyway through the proper channels. And where is that line in the sand between privacy and proper channels versus ubiquitous access is what concerned me.
Well, but there also has to be some accountability. So it's the old, privacy versus accountability argument that's rearing its head again. And I think the bottom line is just that it's, in a point where words are harming people, and they are, there has to be something that's in place to manage that. That can't just be the Wild West. Yeah. So in addition, as a result of her passing, they did cancel the show that she was on, the reality show that she was on, where a lot of these a lot of this online abuse was coming from, was her actions on that, or their perception of her actions on that. And that's Terrace House, and it was a reality show where 3 men and 3 women lived together in a house in Tokyo. And it was actually suspended when she passed. Well, they've now actually canceled the rest of the season. So that show looks like it's gone away, which I think would be an appropriate response after something like this happens. So once again, still a very tragic situation, but at least it seems like there is the intention of some sort of positive change afterwards. In other news, a former WWE star is heading to Impact, it seems. Deonna Purazzo, who was recently released by NXT, has just been announced to be joining Impact. They just put out a video package for her yesterday, calling her the Virtuosa. She's heading over there. She's got some tapings in Nashville that she's going to. Fightful is saying that she is working on a show-to-show basis at this point. So she's not under contract. They're testing her out, see if she works over there. And if she does, then yay, she's with Impact. This is actually kind of surprising, Nick, because I figured, given how she was really there at the start of Ring of Honor's women's division, and like when Ring of Honor, like she did a lot of women's stuff in Ring of Honor, I actually kind of thought she was going to go there. And of course, there was obviously speculation she'd head to AEW, but it looks like Impact was the first one to give her some good options, which is a pretty quick turnaround. Apparently, her contract, her no-compete, was up on May 22nd, which is only 5 days ago now. Yeah. So pretty quick turnaround and finding something else. So best of luck to Deonna Purazzo.
It's a shame she never got used properly in NXT. I remember her being one of the signings that I was most hyped about when we went through that run of signings to NXT over the last couple of years. I think Impact might be a surprisingly good move, but I'm with you. I fully expected her to do a Ring of Honor and maybe even go run around with Thunder Rosa and the other ladies in NWA as a potential there, and maybe a dual act between the two like we've seen several superstars do. So I'm not unhappy about the Impact signing. I'm pleasantly surprised by it. I hope it works out for her.
No, that actually, their knockouts division right now is absolutely amazing. They've got a ton of talent over there. It might be the second best women's division out there after NXT. I'm just going to leave that hanging in the air. So I don't blame her for going there, and I think there's a lot of opportunities there. So that could be very exciting for her landing there. And speaking of landing, Nick, somebody effed around and bought a plane.
What?
Randy Orton posted on Instagram that he effed around and bought a plane sitting in the back of what appeared to be his own private jet. He also hashtagged greatest, hashtag wrestling, hashtag match, hashtag ever, hashtag what a rib. Which, for all of those of us who think that selling of his match, his upcoming match between Edge and him is absolutely atrocious. I love the fact that at least he's calling it out there too, and perhaps lending credence to those of us who think it's a big swerve and a goof, and they're just trolling us with this.
Yeah, it's going to be a 30-second RKO spot, and we're out of there.
Or perhaps, as some of our listeners suggest, a musical,
right? Which
would be entertaining as well. But yeah, if you wonder how Randy Orton's getting to and from places now, he's flying in style in his own plane, wondering who else he's letting on there, if anyone. In another news, so we were commenting on our regular show yesterday, Nick, about how everyone who was there as the audience for the WWE shows, all the PC staff and NXT kids, were standing around properly socially distanced, and we were wondering about, we were saying, oh man, it sucks that they have to stand, but at least it's only for 3 hours while they're taping Raw. Well, no, they're taping multiple episodes of the shows. Apparently, they were standing for up to 10 hours, if not more, multiple days in a row, according to Sean Ross Sapp. So not as comfortable. And when we were talking about how their energy was hit or miss at times, that also might explain it.
Right.
We were comparing it to going to a concert and saying, oh, well, I've stood for 4 or 5 hours at a concert before. Sure. It's not so bad. Yeah, but were you at like peak energy, frothing at the mouth, jumping up and down, cheering and making chants for 5 hours? No, you weren't. And you certainly weren't doing it for twice that amount of time. Right. So, yeah, hopefully that's something that they address going forward. Some stools, maybe, like a little bench. I don't know. Something.
A barricade to lean on. Something.
Anything. Hammocks.
10 hours?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. Brutal.
Ugh.
Absolutely brutal.
Wow.
And if they want to have these kids, give them energy for that. And of course, they're not getting extra for this. They're under salary.
Right.
So they're just being told, and they all want opportunities. What are they going to say? No, I don't want to be there. So yeah, that's a bit of a eyebrow raising situation over in WWE. Hopefully they address that as well, because there has been some outcry about that. Save the NXT kids. The poor PCs. And speaking of NXT, Nick, I'm going to throw this in here as just pie in the sky, like what if stuff.
Okay.
It's being reported by Paul Davis from Wrestle News that Adam Cole's contract, his NXT contract, is up in August or September. You know where I'm going with this.
Yep.
He spent his Memorial Day hanging out with his girlfriend, Britt Baker, as well as the Young Bucks and a lot of other people from AEW. Not saying, just saying. Like, yes, he is currently the NXT champion, and as of June 1st, he will have held that title for a year, longer than anyone else ever has. But at the same time, he was once a member of Bullet Club. He did used to hang out with the Bucks. Now, granted, supposedly he died. At least he died in that kayfabe. But, stranger things have happened. Joey Ryan came back from the dead with a whole army of penis druids. So who knows what Adam Cole could do.
Right. We just saw AJ Styles unceremoniously resurrect from being buried alive.
Spontaneously resurrect,
right.
No zombie AJ Styles, no nothing. Nope, I'm fine.
Listen,
I got better.
Adam Cole had a choice. He could hang out with the Undisputed Era and other NXT people in Orlando. No, he went out of his way to hang out with his wife's friends over in AEW and his old buddies from back in the day. And I'm sitting here going, 2 + 2.
I mean, again, it's just his girlfriend. Like, it could just be like they're friends with Britt, and it happens to be. It could be nothing. It could be something. We're not saying.
We're just saying.
We're just saying. No. If I had to put chips down, I'm going to assume that NXT is rolling out the checkbook.
Oh yeah.
For their boy, for their baby boy. I have to assume that. That being said, never say never.
Here's the other.
I have to imagine.
Here's the other thing I'll throw at you real quick. Him going up to the main roster, he has to have looked at what's happened to Ricochet. Black and Garza are doing very well, but what are some of the other ones that have gone up in the last year or two, and how has their stock rapidly declined after leaving prominent positions?
He could be playing golf with the Street Profits. You never know.
Exactly. So that has to be sitting on his shoulders like a giant boulder going, do I roll this dice, this crapshoot?
What's the ceiling? Like, NXT champ is great, and I'm sure it's, it is great, but at the same time, it only pays so much relative to main roster. Right. And also, how much of a checkbook are they going to roll out in the middle of what's going on right now? Like, yes, WWE is not exactly, at the end of the year, they're still going to be making a massive profit. It's going to be one of the most profitable years ever. But they're also looking at the future and saying, like, man, this, how long is this going to go on? We're missing all of these live revenues. So are they going to have the money to really entice Adam Cole to stick around? That's really the question I'm just throwing out here.
Yeah.
We're not saying, we're just saying.
Yeah.
And one last thing, Nick, 24 years ago today, as of this day, you won a war. You got a war. Scott Hall invaded WCW, beginning one of the most successful eras in any company other than WWE, when he started with the Outsiders, him and Nash, and then ended up becoming the NWO when Hogan joined them. So yeah, that started today. Today was the day.
The Nacho Man. Yeah. That was still one of the best all-time promos amongst a sea of boos. Like, nobody wanted anything to do with Scott Hall. But he just kept trucking along. I love that promo. Yeah.
Scott Hall. Can't keep a bad guy down.
No.
And that is the news, Nick. That is the news, everybody. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you guys for joining us for BWO Daily. Make sure you pound that subscribe button down below and turn your notifications on so you get updates every day when we update the latest news right here on the channel. But my name is Nick Howell.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous.
And we will see you guys next time.